Russia's deputy prime minister says his country is looking for partners to help it de-dollarize and move trade away from the dollar. According to Alexei Overchuk, Russia's deputy prime minister, Russia is looking for partners to speed up the pace of de-dollarization and could strengthen its ties, particularly with Islamic nations, as it moves away from dollar trade. Naturally, the global changes and trends will have an impact on our relations with the Islamic world. According to a report from the Russian news agency TASS, Overchuk discussed the processes of de-dollarization and the establishment of an independent financial system on Friday at an economic forum. Due to Russia's convergence on issues like energy, food, and deglobalization, relations between the two regions have a positive future, according to Overchuk. Moreover, the government is doing a lot to ensure further development along these lines, he said. Since beginning its invasion of Ukraine last year, which resulted in widespread sanctions from Western nations, Russia has been strengthening its partnerships with its allies. Russia has made notable efforts to move away from use of the US dollar since being banned from the international financial communication system, including demanding payments for goods in its own currency and even combining its banking system with Iran. To compete with the US dollar in international trade, it has also drawn up plans to establish a new global reserve currency with China and the other BRICS nations. Russia's Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov has said that the country is moving away from the US dollar. However, experts have argued that such concerns are exaggerated. Economists polled by Insider told us that the dollar has been the world's de facto reserve currency for decades, with only a slight decline in its use over the past few years. Check out the Business Insider original here. Whether you are a staunch advocate of sending American troops to Ukraine or you doubt Ukraine's significance to American interests, you should be alarmed by the Biden administration's unpredictable course. Providing F-16 fighters so late, after initially refusing to do so for months, is just the latest U-turn by Vice President Biden. We were reluctant to send high-tech HIMARS rockets at first, but eventually we gave in. The United States initially refused to provide Patriot anti-missile batteries, but later reversed course. The same can be said of M1 Abrams tanks. Joe Biden's wavering and indecisive approach to the conflict has resulted in the provision of weapons sufficient to prevent a Ukrainian military defeat but insufficient to completely expel Russia from all of Ukraine's territory. Biden and his team likely worry about starting a larger war and possibly prompting Russia to use nuclear weapons, and they hope that the eventual exhaustion of both sides will lead to a mutually agreeable negotiated settlement. This is a valid concern, but Biden's slow and gradual approach could lead to a Ukrainian loss and embarrassment for NATO. They say that Santayana's old adage, "Those who cannot remember the past are condemned to repeat it," sums up this idea nicely. Despite obvious differences in context, the Biden administration appears determined to repeat the strategic blunders of the 1960s. The fundamental blunder was the belief that we could send signals to North Vietnam by carefully adjusting our level of military involvement. Like the current American stance on the Ukrainian conflict, the formal doctrine was called graduated pressure, and in practice it meant that the United States would provide enough force to prevent South Vietnam from losing without ever posing an existential threat to North Vietnam. The doctrine presumed the North Vietnamese communists viewed the war in the same logical terms as the U.S. A senior aide recalled that President Johnson kept asking, "What does Ho Chi Minh want?" as if Ho were the mayor of Chicago demanding construction of 5 additional post offices.